So how did you go from roping and alpine? Because you college rodeoed at alpine.
Mm-hmm. Soul Ross.
How did you go from that to singer songwriter?
Shout out Bar SR Bar, baby. Man, what a beautiful town. Sorry. So I walk into this bar. It's called the Old Crystal Bar. And one of my buddies, at the time, he played baseball. His name's Briar Holt. And I would write songs on the road for fun, mess around at y'all's house, picking and grinning a little bit, but nothing other than that, or like at a bonfire party at college rodeo. And he's like, dude, I just got this job bartending, and I know the manager at the Crystal Bar. You should see if they'll let you play. I was like, man, I don't know. I don't really, I don't know my way of like that, He's like, just do it. So I remember the first Tuesday, right? I walk in there. It's a Tuesday night. No one's there. There might be a couple people with their backs to me at the bar. But Briar would sit directly in front of me, just on his chair drinking beer. And it would be me and him, and I would just play through my songs. And they'd pay me, a couple $100 with a free bar tab to just play once or twice a week. And I was like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? Yeah. I was literally using that money to help, rent, feed,
beer,
make it to a college rodeo. Beer,
yeah, mostly beer.
Yes, and as happens at college. And so then I start playing, and then before you know it, a couple weeks go by. Now there's 20 people out there listening to me play. And then a couple weeks go by, now there's 50 and 100. And then I played the college rodeo there, acoustic. There was like 300 people in there. We sold tickets. And for that town, getting 300 people to go anywhere at the same time is pretty crazy. Granted, that was also college rodeo weekend, so
yeah, but
a lot of out-of-towners.
Kids are going to the place with the most fun. I think I was there. And I barely knew you at the time when you did that. But how cool is it though? Because Harrison, I've never experienced anything like that, like where you're getting paid for a goodness service that is just you. It's your skill set. It's your God-given talent. It's almost like, a painter drawing a picture and getting someone buying their picture. I mean, it's that type of artisticness. So, I mean, what is that like? I've always thought that was like, to be a musician and a singer, like, that's just really unique. And, you're drawing a crowd pretty much everywhere you go now. And, your music has, well, when you come to San Angelo, you draw a crowd.
At least two.
So, I think that's just really neat. I think that's really neat and cool, that whole idea of being a singer and a writer on top of it, and a talented musician. Like, guitar is not the only thing you play. And, you grew up playing instruments. Yeah. And that, like, this is coming from a guy that wishes I could do the things you're doing. Like, I know it took me 7 months to learn 4 chords, and I still can't synchronize strumming, right?
Right.
Or just pick random chords. So
that was a rough 4 months for me.
Tell Harrison about like that. Like, tell me, like, and outside of being an artist, you're a talented rodeo guy. So
you're also in construction. You were doing fiber optic, right, for a minute?
That was COVID.
Yep, I did do that.
When they shut all the bars down.
Yes. the time that we do not speak of anymore.
The Black
Everyone's
Keys
actually that never happened. I'm like, y'all are wild. That was a crazy time.
was a crazy time, and that was really hard for artists because that's the way y'all make your living is
Dude.
in honky tonks and bars.
When we can get to it in a minute, but when that happened, I just remember telling myself, I can either quit and go get a real job and like do that thing, or I can hone in and write a crap ton of songs and like learn the craft, and work it and like every day sharpen that pencil. And that's what I did. I chose to do that instead of go get a real job.
Is that when you linked up with
Josh Grider.
shout out to Josh?
Yeah. Man, that dude, he's a mentor, Texas songwriter, legend. And man, he really took me under his wing and showed me the craft of writing songs, like the real creative way to not just explain something in a song, but sky's blue.
Poetically describe it. I guess.
Yeah, and make it into something where people can read down your lyrics and it tells a story and almost every line points at the hook. Like there's things, and don't get me wrong, music's subjective, right? But as far as like once you're writing that many songs, you know what I mean? You start to build your box of kind of things that you like, as an artist, and you develop kind of your sound or your language or your style,
It's kind of like a painter's brush, or color, or
Yes.
kind of the style of
Yes, I am a painter.
with words.
Yeah, right. But anyways, towards your question of how that started as far as the creative aspect, as you said, growing up in church and whatnot, and then playing music on Sundays a little bit every now and then, when I was in college, like anytime I had time off for myself, which I'm in Alpine, so there's a lot of time. It's Alpine time.
Yeah, that could be a song in itself right there.
You go. And I would just go to this music room, right? And it's kind of by the theater kids where they are, but you could walk downstairs and they had all these like soundproof rooms with just pianos in them. And so I would go in there and I would just play the piano and I would write songs. I'd bring my guitar, I'd go in there and play piano and write songs. And I told myself I would spend the time to do that every day for my own pleasure, but also just to like try to get better at something, because in the rodeo realm and roping of how bad I really wanted to succeed, I roped a lot every day, pretty much all day long. So much so that now, I don't really get to rope very much anymore. But if I'm walking through Walmart and someone turns left, I'm like, 2 feet. Like it's never left my mind. Like really, you do it that much. Or
You train your mind to always think about it.
Right, yeah, and you can't turn it off. And I've kind of through that have turned that side of the brain working at something time after time, and disciplining yourself to now writing songs. Where now, I hear a conversation, I watch a movie, I see blah, 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 or hear somebody across the way say something. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a song title. Write that down.
You hear about,
or however it goes. But
you hear about
stays
some
on.
guys like the number one hits. They're like, I think what was it? Merle Haggard wrote "Silver Wings" on a plane in like less than 2 minutes. And it's just a crazy song. Have you ever had any one of those moments where you're like, just wrote down an entire song that you really like in less than, 5 minutes? Has that ever happened?
Yeah. Yes, it has. I mean, quite a lot, But in the songwriting world, right, you do a lot of co-writing.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be like, us three sat down at this table, literally with coffees, maybe have a laptop, and you're going through your what some of us call it, a hook book.
Mm-hmm.
So in your notes section on your phone or wherever you keep it, it's fine. But you'll go through a bunch of titles or ideas or blah, 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 blah. And, like I have a list of 4,000 ideas on my notes right now. Like it just goes, right? Because it's like you don't want to forget those things and you star some and put a thing by it, you know what I mean? And for that moment when the song comes to you, you write that song today. You never know what song it's going to be. You don't know how it's going to go, how it's going to end up. But when you can kind of have a pre-plan, a pre-game idea going into the write, that definitely helps the creative flow, right? So being an artist, you go in there and you're like, all right, I have this song, title called whatever it may be, I Wish It Was Me. So then you go in and you start to kind of have a lick for it, First thing you do every morning is press your lips to your coffee cup. I wish it was me, and then you just kind of like, and then they're like, oh, that sounds cool. And then you just kind of like ride around. Or someone's like, nah, it's terrible, trash, And you're like, okay, then you go. And then they go and you're like, okay, that was better.
That's usually what Sterling does to my idea. Just trash it.
That's not a good idea.
So
I
what?
talked about that podcast. Let's do a podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, it took a bus ride in Italy for 8 hours for Sterling to convince himself that a podcast would be good. But who was the artist that just brought you that you can remember as a child that you're just like, I love it. I love music. I love singing, the lyrics. What song was it? Who was it?
Conway Twitty. Anything he sang. My grandpa, he had a 3500 Dodge, like 2003, 6-speed. Still smells like Copenhagen. And we would drive around, man, and he would just play Conway Twitty songs and sing his heart out. And one of his favorites was Lying Here with Linda. And then,
On my mind. Yeah. It's a great song.
yeah.
Sterling and I can't sing. We can sell a hell of a tractor, though.
We might have to go to the bar after this. It's like 8:30 in the morning.
But yeah, that was like my first kind of,
Very
essence
cool.
of country music. And my dad really loved Randy Travis.
Yeah.
So he would play a lot of Randy Travis in the car. But, as far as that's country music, but as far as my total influence, I love the Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys
When
are
I
dope.
was a kid, my dad,
Yeah.
he still loves loud cars and loudspeakers.